In this episode, we talk about Kenneth Branagh's latest film, Belfast.
And Nicolas Cage, Pig.
We finally got to see Belfast the other night, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved it. Totally lives up to the hype.
Yeah, it was as good as people were saying, talking about. And this one was actually good. It was like genuinely good. It wasn't like, there's a lot of hype for Power of the Dog. And we did see it, but it was disappointing because of the hype. It was like, hey. And it was like, oh, really?
I don't know. Like, I'm here and the movie was there. Like, I just did not get it.
Yeah, and it was poorly done. I mean, technically, there was a beautiful photography.
Sure.
Cumberbatch act.
Yes.
But
several people acted in the film.
But yeah, it was weak. It wasn't. But Belfast. Let's talk about good things. Belfast was really good. It was. It is worth all the praise, all the awards buzz is causing, and it's simple, it's direct, but the metaphors are strong, and it's a spoiler alert.
Yes.
The movie, directed and written by Kenneth Branagh, is based on his real life story when he was a kid.
Yeah, he describes it as like a fictionalized story, so a lot of what happens there didn't necessarily happen or happen that way, but a lot of it did. But
that's a cool thing. I think about that when he sees the end. His parents dancing at the funeral.
Yes.
It's do Irish really dance at the funeral, or was something on his head?
That's what I was thinking. So right before that scene, someone had said something like, oh, your dad's going to sing along with the jukebox. And then we get to the scene and there's no jukebox. There are 3 people suddenly playing the trumpet. There's like a full band, but all of his family members are in this like very 60s band, and his dad is singing at the mic. And my overwhelming impression with that was you saying, like, this was how he was perceiving it. This is what it was like for him. This was not what was literally happening.
Yeah, and that's a cool
Were they
thing.
Dancing? Were they partying? I can see that. Yeah. I don't know a lot about Irish funeral customs he after the burial, but
on his memory, it's like he remembers his mom and dad singing and being very effective and singing like really well. It's like maybe they didn't sing. Maybe they didn't sing or dance really well. But when like that's kid's memory, he saw love. And love imprinted that on his head. He
did. He saw his dad as a star, kind of. Maybe, I don't know.
And all the fictionalized things. It's like it's like I remember my dad is like this and my mom like this, and there's no reason to. Some of the directors will delve deep and expose how they were flawed and they are bad and no, it's about this little boy, how he sees the world and how he sees his family, and it was natural to see some curious things about some problems going on, some big problems going on, and of course to see shining future. Love in his family and love for himself. He meets the little girl and he wants to marry her.
He does. Yeah. Little Catherine with the long blonde hair. That wee little girl, he calls her. Oh, so sweet.
So fictionalizing is relative. My point is, it is not when especially in the times we live. These days that news travel in the speed of light and they are told and rebuked in a second. Fictionalized, it doesn't mean it's a lie. It's not a fact, but it means it was seen and it was made through the eyes of fantasy and love and nostalgia.
Yeah. So it's set in 1969 in Belfast, and the very first scene we see little Buddy playing out on the street. There's kids like kicking balls around and hopscotch and jump ropes, and he's got a little garbage can shield and a sword, and his mom, it's very idyllic, and he knows everybody on the street, and his mom just steps outside and calls his name for tea, and they all go running home. So it's just idyllic and lovely.
Let me cut here. When she calls him, everybody calls him.
Yeah, it like goes down.
It's already a indication that everybody knows him. Everybody knows everybody. That street, that neighborhood is very tight.
Yeah, and that's a theme that's going to run through the whole film. Like that he's safe there and everybody knows who he is. His family belongs there. They've always been there. They always will be. That's a big theme in the movie. But then as he's coming home, we see like a mob, like a violent, like scary mob coming together at the end of the street, and they start marching down. And we realize it's a mob of Protestants, and they're there to kind of terrorize the Catholics who live on that street. So Buddy makes it home and his brother makes it home, and they watch as a car gets lit on fire and windows are broken and all this stuff, and then the neighborhood comes together to clean up and build a barricade, and so we have this kind of big historical moment happening, but then against that we just have like Buddy being a kid, but also this kind of moment where he's really growing up and going from a very innocent little child to learning kind of the ways of the world. So there's the Troubles, right? The Catholics versus the Protestants. He's also learning about love. He is seeing some of the strife in his parents in their relationship, but also just some of the challenges that they deal with, that they kind of try to keep from him. But he's growing up, and he notices that like his mom is sad every time she gets the mail, or he hears her crying on the phone with his dad who works in England and things like that. And then his grandfather gets sick, and so he's growing up. But anyway, this is all like so beautifully and so stunningly shown through the perspective of a child, and Branagh very deliberately kept a lot of the names very generic. So like this kid who we're seeing the world through, Kenneth Branagh, they only call him Buddy in the movie, and his parents and his grandparents don't get names. They're Ma, Pa, is it Granny, and Pop. It's like very generic names. So even though it's a very specific moment in time, it also feels just so universal too. And so it's just really masterful writing, and one of the things that I think makes the film great and really draws you into it. It's a very specific story. It's his memories, his perceptions of his family, but it's something that all of us can feel a part of. And it really reminded me of To Kill a Mockingbird for that same reason. It's very similar to that. To Kill a Mockingbird is told through a little girl about the same age with very like big dramatic historical events happening around her. But we get that through the perception of a child, and she's kind of coming of age, kind of starting to lose some of that innocence and see the world for what it is around her. Anyway, it's great. It's beautiful. Really well written. Yeah. I'll stop rambling now.
Yeah, no, it's good. It has a great cast.
Yeah.
It has like some superstars there. Mr. Gray, John Dupa,
Jamie
Dornan.
Yeah, maybe someday we can stop calling him that. Jamie Dornan, Catriona Balfe.
From Outlander.
Ciaran Hinds. And so Jamie Dornan, Catriona, and Ciaran Hinds, they're all actually Irish.
Okay.
Ciaran
Judi Dench.
Yes, who I don't think is Irish, but who cares? She's Judi Dench. And so those are probably the big names. Yeah. But yeah.
And it's the movie flows. The movie I was like I have some expectations. I have some curiosity about how it would end. But the movie never feels like it drags. Never feels like, this is never gonna end. It flows. This whole thing. That's another interesting thing. He did this whole thing in 90 minutes. It's 93 minutes. It's not even 2 hours. So you don't need 6 hours to tell a great story. You can use the techniques of cinema, of movie making. Ellipses, cuts, and and writing properly.
Just really incredible writing.
Everything you write is important. It makes sense. It's important for the piece, for the story.
Yeah.
And
yeah, nothing is wasted.
I mean, if you go watch the movies in black and white, if you're gonna go watch, I mean, I guess anywhere, don't be surprised that it starts in color, because it was like, that's not the movie we came to see, because it starts in color, and the movie uses color throughout the movie. It's interesting. Every time we see in the movie stuff, there's actually fiction, because it's not somehow it's not real life. It's a movie they're watching. It's a play they're watching. That's in color. They go to see Rachel Welch. Raquel Welch on I can't remember the movie, but she's fighting,
like cave people.
Yeah, fighting dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And we also see A Christmas Carol play. And Chitty Bang Bang,
yeah.
Bang Bang, yeah. So and those are on color, and it's I think it's even more interesting when you see the reflection on the characters.
Yeah.
When Judi Dench is there to watch, you see, because she wears glasses, you see the colors reflecting on her. So very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there are some fun little Easter eggs. Well, I don't know if you call them Easter eggs, but like little hints at who Buddy is gonna grow up to be. We see him reading a Thor comic book at one point, and of course Kenneth Branagh directed Thor. He gets an Agatha Christie book for Christmas, and of course he's doing Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. There's at least a couple of actors that he works with like all the time show up. I was like hoping for some Shakespeare nods, but
I mean,
that's okay.
He does wear a sword and a shield.
That's true.
In the very beginning, so he's
There's this great climactic.
He's protecting his little Hamlet, right? So anyway.
Or maybe more like a little King Henry.
Sure.
So anyway, there's this great climactic scene at the end where, again, it reminded me of the funeral, where everyone was dancing, and it became very clear that this wasn't exactly what happened, but it's how it felt. So this great climactic scene where his family, they've ended up kind of caught between the mob, and they're trying to run away, and the dads come to rescue them, but then like one of the antagonists in the film has caught Buddy and his mother, so it's kind of a standoff, and the military is lined up on both sides of the street, sort of faceless, but they've got their like riot shields and clubs out. And so it's a standoff between his dad and this villain. And Buddy and his mom are sort of stuck in the middle. And it's just like the Westerns that we see Buddy watching throughout the film. And it's great. And so his dad, it's just like a Western. So we see like how important like these movies and things were to little Buddy, but then also how it's like just part of how he sees and experiences the world and vice versa. But his dad, picks up a brick and throws him, and it's this great like shootout, and he rescues his family. And so that was another scene that I really appreciated, where it was very clear there was a lot of like artistic license, I guess, but that artistic license was used to show, like, it showed us and conveyed so much more than he could have, than if they showed just like literally what was like scene by scene, word for word, what happened when he was a kid. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
Like that allowed him to like communicate like how he felt and what this all looked like to him as a kid, and how he perceived his parents, and how he saw these bad guys and the military that was there. And anyway, I just thought it was another example of great filmmaking. Yeah. That was just a joy to watch. I really, by the end of it, probably like halfway through, I felt like I was part of the family. Like I was invested. Like I said, it didn't drag at all, because like you're there, you're part of it. And anyway, and there's some elements like it kind of feels and seem like very indie, and it is very indie. It's not a big studio film. No. But in this case, it doesn't rely on the cliches or break the cliches of the indie filmmaking, and it makes a good
really good movie. You know, like some movies that portray the past. They like to use some. I mean, then it's not that they like. They sometimes they might use a soundtrack from even like music that was made like now, and it feels like the anachronism is kind of like sometimes it works, most of the time it does not work. And this time, the movie has music, and even if the music is brand new, it feels like it belongs there. It doesn't feel like, oh, this guy made an old movie and put it Taylor Swift there. That makes no sense, you know. It's like this kind of anachronistic. But in this case, I felt it like it worked, even though you said the soundtrack the synthesizers were like made no sense.
No. Well, what I meant, I guess, I was pointing that out as a positive. Like, you know how like every Vietnam movie starts with like helicopter blades whirring, and like there's like one or two songs from the 60s that they use, right? I feel like he avoided those cliches, and the soundtrack kind of helped establish that this isn't a movie about the 60s, this is a movie about like human beings. So it's not like a period piece, even though it's all set in 1969, give or take. It helped to see past, it helped me, you know, see past like, the sort of the trappings of the time period and just focus on the people and the human story. So something else that helped it be like universal and not just specific.
Yeah.
Okay. You're indulging me.
No,
whatever.
Right.
It's a good point.
You're right. No, I was just speaking what I was about to say.
Oh, okay.
But
he avoided cliches and was well done.
You're talking about a human. It's about Buddy, and Buddy is an innocent boy.
Yeah.
And he lives surrounded by war, a crazy war, where literally neighbors are killing each other. I mean, which, you know, metaphorically or philosophically that's always the case. But in that case, it's literally neighbors, just because they belong to different religions. To the point that the family is Protestant, but they pretend they are Catholic. They send the kids to Catholic church just because, you know. And there's this whole debate.
There's a Protestant church.
What? No.
They're not pretending they're Catholic.
Yeah,
they're in a Protestant area.
They're in a Protestant area. They're Protestants.
Yeah.
And
that was a Protestant priest.
Everybody in the neighborhood is Catholic.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's the whole thing.
No, there were like one or two Catholic families on the street, and the Protestant gang was showed up to kick out the Catholics.
Yeah, so if only two families live there, the Catholics, right? The whole gang comes to kick two families.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. There's more. I think they are. I think it's the opposite. They are the only Protestants.
Okay. No, we're gonna look this up.
Okay, while she look this up,
Excuse me.
And there's this whole funny debate about all that. There's like he and his friend. Talking about Protestants' names and Catholics' names. And anyways, he's very innocent. She invites him to be in the gang. It's like, hey, that's a good idea. He has no idea what he's talking about. She kind of doesn't either. But in the end, it turns out that she gets involved with the guys, the rioters, and bring him in. So they go to a supermarket and tell him, you can get whatever you want. So he grabs a bag of soap and runs home. And he has no idea what's going on. And then his mom make him go back and give the stuff back like, you know, a mom. And, you know, this whole thing is so surrealistic. It's like, there's no way a mom for whatever, however full of principles and hard principles she had, she would not go to the middle of the riot to make her kid to get that thing back. But again, on his kid's memories, on the way he perceived that as a kid or how he remembers that, turned out to be like that. And I mean, it works just fine for the story. It's just very interesting. Also, he falls in love in school, and then he find a way to get the girl, to get closer to the girl by getting better grades and moving into the chair hierarchy they had. On that school system, and it's pretty cool. I saw somewhere, I don't know if it's in the poster or somewhere else, I saw that it was like there was a subline, there was a tagline for the movie. It was like, love is around the corner, which only makes sense. at the end of the movie, when the family is leaving, they finally decide to leave, even though it's hard for them, because it's like the couple met each other when they were little kids, and they lived their whole life there, and everybody knows each other, and everybody takes care of each other. And anyways, so they finally decide to move, and but the father takes Buddy to see the girl and give her flowers and a card, and she give him a book. What was the book?
It was a math book.
Oh, it was a math book.
To help him get better at math.
Yeah, because, I mean, she's the one that has to get better at math, because he beat her, right?
Yeah, but she was consistently in the top. He had to hustle, and he partly only got there because his grandfather showed him how to, like, cheat and, like, write his numbers so that his teacher couldn't tell and would give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
so she's good at math.
He's
good at fudging it.
Yeah. Anyways, and they say goodbye. It's really nice. It's you should see it. It's PG-13. It's clean. I don't think there's any crazy violence. There might be some curse words. But
it definitely
nothing major.
Yeah, I feel like the PG-13 will come a lot for thematic things, like, you know, sectarian violence and all that stuff.
I mean, yeah, if you have more mature kids, you should do. It's black and white, so it's naturally impact for nowadays kids. So, but if you have kids that could overcome that, they might enjoy this story.
I was right.
You're right?
Yeah, so Belfast, this is in Northern Ireland, predominantly Protestant, and during the time of the Troubles, the more Irish... Right, so there's Northern Ireland and there's Ireland. Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom, and...
In Ireland is not?
Correct. It's a different country. So the Protestants, right, Ireland is Protestant England, but then the Catholics, Irish Catholics, were starting to say, like, hey, maybe we should reunify with Ireland, this whole nationalist thing, and so the Protestants were like... And again, not all were actually violent, but there were like we see in the movie, there are violent Protestants trying to drive out these scary Catholic.
So I guess that shows even more how that, you know, the neighborhood was tight. They were willing to barricade to protect the couple families that lived there. You know, there wasn't nothing close to be the majority, but because when you're in that neighborhood, your family, you know, the barricade, they have someone controlling who gets in and who gets out. Okay, it's so in that sense is a movie that talks a lot about. It's not preachy. It's not trying to do you know what pretty much everything else these days are trying. But it teaches and exposes, and it tells the story of immigrants. The families that live there, and they're being persecuted, but they're protected by the ones that live there. They receive them as their own. But also the family there's forced to move somewhere else because of this whole thing, and they do a terrific job about that, because it's their roots are so deep that you know, the thought of leaving, the father comes with ideas of moving to Australia or to
Vancouver
or Canada, which are pretty far. They end up moving to England, which is still far enough for not them to see them every day or every week or every month or even every year.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was probably my favorite among the ones out there for awards.
In the running for.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Because this is as you said, this is a real story, but it's universal. It could happen any time of history or anywhere in space, and yeah.
It ends with, so at the very end it cuts back into color, that full color shot of present day Belfast, and it has this dedication, which if you weren't already crying at the end of the movie, I feel like this will totally get you.
Oh, the goodbye that Judi Dench says goodbye to. She's the mother of the father of Buddy. She was for Buddy's new grandmother. And she's terrific. She dances. She's grumpy. She's nice. She's all
Dench.
a grandma.
She's a dame for a reason.
Anyways, and at the end when they finally decide to leave, and it's I think for all of them, there's something about when about leaving. The ones that stay are the ones that suffer more, because the ones who leave, the ones who leave, they're gonna go to somewhere different, and that's something about being a missionary.
Yeah.
You leave, you're gonna be somewhere different, doing different things, seeing different people. The people that stay, they're gonna be on the same places and see where the ones who left, what the ones who left were doing. And for her, it's even more difficult, because a little bit before they left, her husband died.
Oh yeah.
So there's a tragedy.
Just, broken heart.
But she, as a mom, she says, go and I can't remember the exact words, but go and do your best. I always love you.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And we see the bus moving out. It's really, really, really well done.
It is. It's beautiful. So clearly, we super loved this movie.
But there's a quote you were mentioning.
Oh yes. So at the very end, the dedication, and I was pretty emotional, so I remember part of it. But it said, "To the ones who left, to the ones who stayed," and then there was a third that.
To the ones that we lost. To all the ones that we lost.
That's right. That's right. So. Again, like, if he hasn't already just got to the core of your being and made you feel very deep feelings, boy, that'll get ya. Just the perfect way to end this movie. Is so beautiful, so full of love, and so heartfelt. And anyway, go see it.
Yeah, KB got that one really well, and it's like nobody can convince me that among all the other movies, there's like one of those like being praised a lot for all the wrong reasons, and I'll explain why. There's no way KB in this movie, Kenneth Branagh in this movie would lose for like the Power of the Dog.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's directing and writing. And the movie itself as a piece is so much superior, so much better in any other sense. But because Power of the Dog has a gay theme, it's directed by a woman. It's the politics involved, and awards are politics, especially the Oscars and the Golden Globes, where they not only vote, but there's the election process has like
there's like campaigning and marketing,
marketing and seducing, and
gift baskets,
and there's all that, but there's no way as a piece of cinematic story and how it impacts you. This one, I guarantee you, it will impact you for years to come. When Power of the Dog, you're not gonna remember.
It's true. I was thinking about that. Like, Power of the Dog, my life did not feel different before or after that movie, except that I had lost like an hour and a half, 2 hours, however long that is.
It felt like 6.
Yeah, and so like here's the group of people who love love and get and understand Power of the Dog, and then like we're in a different state. I just don't get it.
And I think it's an artificial buzz. I don't think this one is
like kind
natural.
of an Emperor's New Clothes type thing.
This is natural. You're gonna see it, and if you have, you're gonna enjoy it. It's like it has. It's the little boy. He's funny. He gets into things that might remember your own experience with your peers, with your family. Of course, if you're Irish, that's gonna touch you even more.
Yes.
But I don't know. Maybe Hollywood hates the Irish. Isn't there? There's a thing about red hair.
There is a theme.
Yeah.
Throughout history of people hating the Irish.
Yeah.
The oft maligned and taken advantage of and oppressed people.
Yeah. But we heavily recommend.
Yeah.
Belfast. We couldn't see. I don't know what happened. It wasn't released here, or I don't know. It
we
wasn't.
just
It was.
missed
It's from Focus Features. It's not like a big distribution company. It's not a big studio. It's a foreign film, so I guess it didn't. It's not pop. It's not like superheroes or action or So it didn't get to us. But finally, yesterday we had the chance to go to watch in a dollar theater of all places.
Yeah.
But that was fun, and recommend. And I think you can check that. If not, it's probably available to streaming right now.
Yeah, let me Google that real quick.
Yeah, because it's been a while, and it's one that, and it's so interesting because I don't know the exact date when the movie was released. Can you check that?
I want to say it was in December.
That's other thing that's very interesting. The movie, it's sort of a pseudo half partial Christmas movie because at the end it ends by Christmas.
That's right. Yeah, it's right around Christmas.
And Christmas. There's scenes with the Christmas with the family, and Christmas with families, especially if you have kids, is it's something that creates memories for them, as created memories for you and for your parents and for everybody. If you are a Christian, Catholic, Protestant, or whatever other type of Christian you are, Christmas is a very memory make a very big part of your life. Anyway, so it is on streaming.
It's available to purchase from Apple and Amazon.
So it is
and
available
YouTube.
to stream and rent. No rent.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
If you can buy, I'm pretty sure you can rent.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, from what I just Googled,
because usually it's the opposite.
You can buy it.
Usually it's the opposite. Usually, like nowadays with the streaming first or streaming options, they let you watch, which is basically rent, but they don't let you buy. Later they let you buy. If they let you buy, I'm pretty sure you can rent too. But again, if you, I recommend. It's a movie to buy. It's a movie to have.
It's a good one
to share with others.
Yeah.
Belfast, directed by Kenneth Branagh. It's available in selected theaters because it's kind of out of the circuit.
Yep.
But available on streaming everywhere.
Obviously, we can't say enough good things about it. But it's not the only highly nominated film that we watched recently.
Yeah. We saw Power of the Pig. No, it's called Pig.
Starring Nicolas Cage.
And a pig.
And a pig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Nicolas Cage proved again that he can act. And he can act it really well. It's a matter of what he gets his hand to or what he picks, because in several moments in history you find Nicolas Cage doing his job as an actor really well. He's not there. I mean, he's not only there because of his uncle. He does have talent.
He really does.
His uncle is Francis Ford Coppola.
Which is why he's Nicolas Cage and not Coppola.
He was Nick Coppola? Frank Coppola? His first movies he's credited as Coppola.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like...
Well, good for him for changing his names.
There's a movie, I can't remember, it's a teenage comedy. Like there's like 7,000 million of those. It's a teenage comedy, what nowadays they call coming... What was it called?
Coming of age.
Coming of age comedy. Coming of age movie. But, heavily comedic. I can't remember which one. But there's a couple scenes. I think it's the one with Judge Hainaud. I think it's one Fast Times I Hate You and How. I think that's it. There's a scene where one of the main characters work on a fast food joint. Okay. And there works one Nicolas Cage. And I think he has no line or barely has a line. And in the credits is Nick Coppola, Frank Coppola. Yeah. I can't remember. And it's funny because you see all the famous people. There's another scene where you see on the window. What's his bucket from Iron Man? The roadie. Don Cheadle. Yeah. You see Don Cheadle's like, wait a minute, I know this kid. Yeah. Anyways,
funny.
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
A quick one. Cage, because he's a big comic book fan.
Yes. So this film, Pig, this definitely has like some indie vibes. It's an unusual one, but we see Nicolas Cage living in a cabin, very rustic, off the grid, like, you know, no power, nothing like that. And he takes his pig, this beautiful porcine specimen, and off they go into the woods to hunt for truffles. And like, boy, they're into it. Like, Nicolas Cage is like tasting the dirt and just touching the trees, and the pig finds this huge truffle, so he brings it back to his house, and he's also like gathered the wild mushrooms, so he makes this beautiful mushroom tart and shares it with the pig. And this kid shows up in a really obnoxious Camaro and basically buys this truffle for some supplies, like, and, you know, goes off back into the world. So we see that Nicolas Cage is part of this massive cutthroat truffle industry, but he's kind of staying out of it as much as he can, and doesn't really. I don't think he even talks to the kid when the kid shows up, does he?
The kid can't stop talking, but he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
I think, you know, maybe he says something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the kid can't stop talking. He's like blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah. He's like, why don't you want to go somewhere? I can take you somewhere, whatever. I'm like, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I could get you a shower.
Yeah.
Hint.
Yes, you mentioned the shower, the power shower, whatever.
The camp shower.
Camp shower.
Yeah. So clearly Nicolas Cage is not into people. Super loves his pig. They're besties. And is quite happy out in the woods.
He does listen to a tape, which was some speak from his past.
Yes.
And later in the movie we find out who. But yeah, it's him and his pig.
And then
in a very John Wick esque moment, some evil people take from him everything he has at that point of his life, his pig.
Yep.
And you know, when you do that, like it happened to John Wick, you create motivations, and you wake up monsters inside men that are like sleeping for, you know.
Yeah, monsters that should have been left alone. And so Nicolas Cage goes into town, asks for somebody at the diner, and they're like, she died 10 years ago, so he's clearly been like out of it for a very long time. But he calls up the kid comes to get him, and he's like, look, no pig, no truffles. So the kid helps him to find his truffles, and find the pig. But as they go around trying to track down this pig and who took the pig, we see some of, you know, this whole North American truffle industry. This is all up in Oregon. You know, and how kind of like cutthroat it is and how shady it can be. But we also come to see that this is actually a movie about grief and about mourning. We find out that Nicolas Cage used to be this incredibly like hotshot chef. Everybody is just in awe of him as soon as they find out who he is. And he lost someone, and that was it for him. And we realize the kid has kind of lost his mother, and his dad, you know, losing his wife, went like full psycho, like, I'll kill people for truffles. And whereas the kid is just trying to figure out life. Anyway, it's about grief is what this movie is.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, he has to come to terms with the loss of the pig. And there's lots of adventures along the way.
Oh yeah, there's like an underground chef cage fight, which was like
kitchen fight club.
Yeah. Anyways, but Cage is like he's this deep dark serious character all the time. He never makes a joke. He's focused on getting his pig back.
Yeah. He doesn't even like tend to his wounds. Like throughout this movie, he's getting more and more like beat up and bloodied. So he's got like hair caked into head wounds and just it's disgusting. But like no, he's on a mission. Yeah. He's gonna get his pig, and that's all there is to it.
And at some point, the guy is like, I can get you the pig. Exactly the same. And it's like, no, it's to get truffles, right? And he's like, it's like, no, I don't need the pig to get truffles. I want my pig back because I love him. I love her. I think
it was a her.
Her, that's right. It was her.
He even had a name. I don't remember that.
Yeah, and so it was about that connection. His less connection with some sort of life was that one. And throughout the end of the movie, we hear the tape that was his wife, and she had a bakery, and she goes and meets the baker. He asks her, "Oh, you still make the baguette with salt?"
That's right.
With baguette with no salt.
The salted baguette.
The salted baguette. I was like,
I've never heard
as far
of a
as I
salted
knew,
baguette,
I thought
but
every baguette was salted. I was like, I never heard the sweet baguette. Anyways, so he eats and they talk. By they talking, I mean she talks and he eats and leaves and asks for candy and he's gonna have another one and bring to his friend. There is a connection that he creates, and by the end with the whole impact of. Because there's this, he was a very, very intense professional, very caring professional.
Yeah.
He says like, I remember everything I ever cooked for.
Yeah.
He thinks this is a religion is something important, and it was important for the family because apparently the couple in the past that went to eat at his place that made them so happy. And they was always fighting, but they were not fighting anymore. And that kid knew that, and he found out he was the chef, and then he cooks the same dish for him and his father in memory of his mother. But then he finds out it's too late. His pig is dead, so he's going back home, and it's kind of deep, dark, and sad that you think, oh, this guy's gonna kill himself.
Yeah.
But throughout the journey, he bounded a connection with the kid that was like, see you next week. So he's gonna keep moving on, listening to his tape in this very dark and sad but hopeful story. It was good. It was really good.
It is. So it I thought it was a good movie. It's just the right length. It's interesting storytelling, great acting, and I think it's worth seeing. There are films like Belfast that are just gonna stand out in your mind forever. This one, I don't know if it has that like universal impact or anything, but it was still a really good movie. It definitely deserves the nominations it got, and worth checking out.
It's the movie is available on Hulu, so go watch it. If you like pigs, or if you don't like pigs. Yeah,
no, there's a pretty broad appeal here.
Yeah.
Because there's the pig, but actually the pig isn't in there for very long.
Well,
there's just like a couple scenes, and then the pig is out.
From the beginning to the end. The pig is the thing that moves the movie and moves the characters.
Yes.
It's like we are all thinking we cannot stop thinking about the pig until the very end, because it's not like John Wick that the dog dies. We don't know that the pig dies until the very end.
That's true.
So we constantly thinking about the pig.
Yes. I'm saying like you're not going to spend a lot of time looking at a pig. The pig is not on screen very much.
But it's in our hearts.
Yes, the pig is in our hearts. Yeah. BLTs for lunch?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, some bacon.
Yeah. Whoa. That was a dark turd. Anyways, that's what we've been watching.
It's good. We watched it. If you want to watch, you should watch and leave comments. And that's it. We saw these two great movies. Next week we're gonna come up with more. And soon we're gonna have some changes on our podcast. It's gonna improve.
Oh, yeah.
You have special effects.
Whoa.
Special guests. I didn't say guest. Special guests.
Well,
you guess
plural.
what is special.
Oh, you.
Anyways, I guess we see you next week with more pop culture news and the stuff we're seeing and
Okay. In the meantime, live long and prosper.
May the force be with you.
Bye.
Bye.